a lot of smoke everywhere.
Oh, what kind of smells we got?
Yeah, there just stinks. Just the smell of burning wood.
Feels like the great outdoors again. Back when we could go outside.
Yeah.
It kind of honestly looks like you just walked around outside, got a little sweaty, and then talked on the phone for a while, and then tried to take a selfie. You got that like grease mung. You got a mungy screen.
Mungy.
That's how I like to live life.
You got mung.
I like to stay mungy.
Stay mung. Mung beans.
Yo, this fucking browser version is whack.
Why are you in the browser?
It won't let me get in the app. All right, hold on. Where's meeting ID? Yo.
So we're live
Eric,
right now.
Eric, what's this meeting ID?
Meeting ID.
Shh, don't tell it to the people. We're live.
Oh shit.
I think it's this last bit. Hold on, I'm gonna try this.
Why don't we just do that? Just invite everybody to this Zoom.
Like a 20-person Brandbeats. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah. And let's just have a conversation. Can't you mute people?
I mean, yeah, you've muted people numerous times, haven't you?
No.
Or is that Hangouts?
Should we start beatboxing?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Brandbeats freestyle? That's like, the real Brandbeat right there.
Someone has to do like the bass, like.
That's you. You got the deep voice.
Someone else has to get the.
Okay, that was it.
That's like I don't know if anybody's listened to DaBaby's new album. That's basically what his album sounds like.
What I did or what you did?
What you did. Well, it has a lot of bass, so it's like, and then it's like beep boop whoop 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 wop. Like that's his whole album.
It's future music.
George Clinton vibes.
Yeah, like a 10th grade, or no, 10th grade is not that young, I guess. Never mind. Like an elementary schooler with the recorder. That's what it sounds like.
Hot cross buns.
Yeah.
Who didn't learn hot cross buns?
I wish I had a recorder right now.
I think Lenya's daughter has a recorder.
For real?
Yeah, I'm jealous.
I think that could be a whole vibe. Post-COVID.
I don't think so.
Start a recorder band? Dude, it's it.
It's gonna be like how we just communicate that we're still like out there, you know, like you see like in Europe, everyone's just like playing some kind of instrument on their balcony. It's like, and then you just hear it back.
That could be that's San Diego's response. We're very
San Diego,
the city that we call home.
All right.
I'm really upset by this. There's so many things that I'm missing out on in this browser version. Oh. Cheers.
So, Andrew's gonna come in here and just like drop in super late, charming style. He said, so we can start without him and just chat about chat.
Chat about chat. Let's chat
well,
about
actually,
chat.
I think we need Andrew to
yeah, he gives the opening.
Yeah, he does the opening.
Yeah, you really blew it last time.
Bye. Hi, everyone.
Do we have a YouTube link?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's in basic chat.
I muted that. I should. I can't. I'm upset.
Anyone tuning in? How many peeps we got going right now?
Oh, we got 4 viewers.
3.
Let's go.
Oh.
What's up?
Oh.
What's up, fans? My name's Emma. Welcome back to our channel. We did that last time too. Is that joke old now?
Subscribe.
No. This is only our second one. Keep it going. Do a whole thing.
Yeah,
Hey guys,
YouTube
you asking about my morning routine. I just want to say, start by drinking a large glass of wine.
Uh-oh. We got Mark in here. Saying hi, friends.
Mm-hmm.
Got a fan.
Marcus.
I
Hi. Oh,
Hi.
Mark is your friend?
Oh, Mark from Basic.
Let's call him Marcus.
That's
Who's
not
the
as
verb of the
exciting.
moment. What did everybody have for lunch?
I had a burrito.
Yeah.
Dang.
What? JP? Yeah, you did.
Is JP the same call? Are we like on the same
Yeah.
chat now?
Yeah, you had that burrito. Yeah, you did.
I'm just getting really upset over here, trying to use this browser version.
Are you still
You
trying
look
to figure
normal
it out?
to us. You look good. You look fine.
Yeah,
I
mean,
know
I think
there was something that I really wanted to do something with a background that was going to be fun. I can't see the grid view. All I can see is whoever's talking, and I can't change that setting. That's upsetting.
That's okay. We see you.
Is Interlace listening? I bet this is their fault.
Wait, I'm on the browser, and I can do grid view. But like the browser popped it out onto my desktop.
Dude, it's just you. Yeah, so you have the
It's
desktop.
gotta be me.
I guess I do.
I mean, oh my God, that's almost time for that. It's only like a week away for that meme. I love it.
Hold on, what?
The
Gonna be
fucking-
May.
Gonna be me.
Gonna be May.
Never gets old.
You don't know it?
No, I mean, what do you mean it's almost time? I mean, it's just I like them.
Okay,
So I wasn't saying it because of a meme. I was a big fan.
Oh, well, I'm a big fan too, but I just say I'm a fan of the meme as well. I'm a fan of the output of all those years of musical talent into one small meme celebrating the month that's coming.
I did not.
I agree.
Wait, you don't know that meme, Erwin?
No.
It's gonna be May. Like it's about to be the month of May.
No. Seriously, I never.
Frame glide. Oh, see, Erwin, now you're upsetting me.
Should we all just get kooky ass backgrounds?
I was trying. Open the .us app. Zoom. All right. I think I'm just gonna click to do it and just let it go for a long time.
Yes.
That's fucking funny. Do you guys like my floral arrangement that's like next to my face right here?
Yeah, you framed yourself very nicely.
Thank you.
Oh shit. JP's computer crashed. God dang.
Frozen forever? We got Arthur and JP just like non-moving down below.
Well, good talk.
Should we talk about things of substance? Or are we waiting for Andrew? We might be waiting a while.
He said he would join in like 2 minutes, right?
I think he just throws out numbers.
Yeah, I think he's teasing us. Erwin, do your best, Andrew. Announce it.
I don't have that. I'm a chime inner, not an announcer. I feel like you guys could do it. And what is JP going to get back on?
I think so. I hope so.
It's so funny. He looks like someone's coming to kill him out of the corner of his eye. He just saw it's like a horror film. Like music's just starting to pick up and he's realizing there's someone outside the door behind him. He's like, if I turn around right now.
Don't look behind me.
All right, if anybody is actually tuning in on the live, we will get started in about like 5-10 minutes. 4:25. That's 5 minutes.
Either way,
Yeah, 5 minutes.
we'll get to it eventually.
You tuned in to just hear us ramble.
You guys, has anyone heard of this book?
Yeah.
Looks crazy.
Oh, I've heard of the 50 Cent version.
Yeah, it's wait, what?
50 Cent, he collaborated with the author. It's like, because that one's called like what, 48 Laws of Power or whatever.
Oh, did he do 50?
Actually, I don't know if it was 50.
Power?
He
It must
better
have been. It must have been, right? That's like a slam dunk.
If not, then like, what are we?
Let me see. I'll look it up. 50 Cent.
Also, this book is like the most ordered book by inmates in prison. Which
So, says a lot.
it makes sense.
Oh, it's called the 50th Law. So yeah, there's a 50 in it. It's a New York Times best-selling book. Damn.
What have you gathered from it so far?
Well, I'm gonna read Law 17 because I think this is what JP is doing to us right now. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate in terror of unpredictability.
That's perfect. God damn it.
He's also doing Law 16, using absence to increase respect and honor. I'm a big fan too, but I'm a fan of the meme as well. A fan of the outfit of all this years.
Did you see what Mark?
The one. Oh, what is it? In the month that's coming.
No, that was on Instagram.
Oh Jesus. Another outlet. Let me check this.
Dude, I don't. It might. All right, JP is joining again.
There's 2 JPs.
Hold on, really?
Yeah. There's JP and JP Burks.
JP, are you on? Are you there?
He's still frozen, right? Like
He's just frozen, yeah.
That we're seeing.
Uh-oh. We got Tim Finch in the chat. What's up, Tim?
AMA.
Ask us anything. We're here.
We wait. We got until 4:25.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
What about
Get in.
Mr. Andrew? Where's he at?
Get in those questions. If not, one of you two could kick us off. You guys, Emma's an amazing moderator
Yeah,
and conversationalist.
I nominate Emma for sure.
All right.
All right.
Late practice.
Or what? Did JP join and then get off?
Oh yeah, because now he still has 2 accounts. Oh wait, okay, now he has 1.
Uh-oh. More mystery. Okay, I forgot my beanie. Aren't you guys hot as fuck with your beanies right now? It's like 80 degrees.
I have a beanie and a hoodie on.
I know.
Beanies are never like a climate decision for me. It's just like, if I'm feeling a beanie, I'll wear a beanie, you know?
Yeah, it's a mood.
It's a mood, yeah, it's a mood thing for sure.
I should probably wear a beanie. The hair washing is just
That's exactly why I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
Got a little monstrosity underneath.
I'm like low bunny's version of like a female version of beanie. Like how look like you show.
No, it's like that's like the classy hairstyle though. You know, it's like a political hairstyle.
Yeah,
like AOC.
Power play, right? It's like in the bun, you know.
If I could do that, I would, but my hair's a little too short for that. So
You rock a man bun. Have you ever done it?
I have, yeah, when my hair was long enough. Did a little top bun, little top knot.
Top nine.
Those days are gone.
All right, we have 1 minute. We got double JP. We have one that's all caps, and then we have one that's partly lower caps.
Before we start, Tim Finch is asking, what music has everyone been excited about?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Great
Okay.
question.
I was actually super excited about the Travis Scott Kid Cudi song.
Oh, they're gonna say the Travis Scott Fortnite concert.
I wasn't. I thought it was like interesting, like in concept, but I don't necessarily think the execution was that amazing. Like I could just watch his music videos and get the same impact and probably a little bit better impact than seeing a 3D rendered version of him not really performing. Like to me, that's where the disconnect was. I think
Yeah, it
the
was a little
song
weird.
drop inside Fortnite is interesting, but having a live concert, if it's not going to be like you projected into the actual game, because to me that would be interesting. If it's actually you projected into the game and you're on a stage and you're performing, you have all this other shit going on behind you, then it becomes more of like it is actually a live experience. That to me, it wasn't a live experience. Like obviously they created all of those assets and created all of those things and then dropped them into the game. But yeah, that I was excited about that song and Leon Bridges and John Mayer. Inside Front.
Yeah.
That has been my motherfucking jam.
That was cute. I'm just up on John Mayer right now with his whole like his whole Instagram live situation. He's just a champion.
Yes. What about you, JP? What music
You guys,
you into right now?
can you hear me?
Jesus.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hear you.
What a mess. I second Leon Bridges and John Mayer. However, I'm probably in the camp that anything Leon Bridges or John Mayer does is like gold. So take that for what you want. The new 1975 singles that have been coming out are very good, and I'm very excited for that album.
I saw you post that on your story the other day. I see you.
Yeah, I'm a big 1975 fan.
They're great.
They have a live set of their reading whatever it is that on YouTube, and I've watched like the full hour over and over again.
Yeah, they're really cool. I'd love to see that. Send it to me.
What movies are you guys watching this weekend? If any, or shows? I need that's what I'm at.
I got one.
The series finale, I don't know exactly what it is, of Little Fires Everywhere is tonight, and that is a good one.
Heard about that.
Heard about that too. I just finished Fidelity, which I thought was super cute. Highly recommend. You guys watched it yet?
Oh, what?
I watched like half the first episode.
It's cute. So do you guys know the 2000 like John Cusack movie High Fidelity, where he like owns a record shop and he can talk to the camera?
Dude. Yeah, that show is so good.
It's so good. She's just the fucking coolest, man. Like
like I didn't want to like it because I didn't like Zoe.
You didn't like
before? No, I didn't. Like I'd never had seen her act, and I just was like, she's gonna be a shitty actor or actress, and so I went into it with very low expectations, and as it like went on, I couldn't get enough. That's the like one show that I missed because I binged it when it first came out. So it was like before COVID, I binged it, and it was like I've been looking for another show like that.
It's so good. I mean, I just finished it last night, and I was like, "Oh, it's so cute." I just loved all the characters and all the music. The playlist is really good. Like, dude, it's fun.
The playlist is great. It was like I think they did work with like Questlove from The Roots.
Yeah, they did.
What?
To do all of the music.
Yeah.
Which one?
And
Is that the
and she was just like a music library. You add one thing or like you explain to him a feeling and an emotion, and then he has like the perfect song.
He's the coolest. I mean,
also The Gentleman.
Oh, is that good?
That one was good.
The movie, it's actually pretty good.
Gentleman, I'm looking it up.
Hold on, did Andrew come in?
Yeah, he popped in for a sec. Yeah, his audio wasn't working, so he's gonna come back.
It looked like you were telling your plant to shush. But somebody's going crazy.
It's a cabin fever.
What else is good? What else? Oh, do you guys watch High Maintenance? I feel like I make a plug for this every time I talk to anyone.
High Maintenance.
Everyone's heard me say this like 75 times, but it's so good. They just finished season 4. That's another good soundtrack also to the show. But
What?
High Maintenance.
Look that up.
Oh, what? What is that?
I thought we talked about it.
So?
All right.
Oh shit, we did.
The show, it's like the mini ethnographies. It's on HBO. It's about this guy that delivers weed.
Yeah.
Like they're all through New York. These different people's lives and like different cultures are happening. Like it's super good. And finally, in the end, you get like they reveal his name in the last episode. And I've been watching it for like 4 seasons, and I'm like, dang.
Just waiting for that one moment.
I got it. I feel good about it.
I feel like HBO has like those shows that people don't really know about, but that are just fucking classics. Like there was one a few years ago called How to Make It in America. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I love
one.
that show.
So fucking good.
That show is so good. Sorry, my dogs are barking, but that show is awesome. I'm bummed out that show went away. And they had
after like 2 seasons or something, right?
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3. Yeah.
Erwin, do you have any good documentaries? You're my documentary guy.
Why do you
Any new
sound
ones?
like?
You sound like a robot.
Why do you sound like
Oh
that?
my god! I got that TikTok filter on.
Wait, why are you? Is he echoing or is my audio?
Yeah, he's for sure echoing.
Oh, tight.
I mean, yeah.
Welcome to the Technology Problems podcast.
Are you guys getting this cute moment right now? We're like, this is like.
Oh my god.
Oh,
The world's getting it.
gorgeous.
Remember Vinyl? Not to go back to HBO, but that was such a good show, I thought too. And that was after 1 season. I think it was too expensive for production. That's why they canceled it. It was like $1 million, like the first episode or something.
That's crazy.
But it was
Who
good.
directed that? I started watching it and never finished it. You just reminded me now. I feel like I have something else to watch now.
It's good, but then it ends after the first season, which was sort of a buzzkill. But it's still worth watching.
They just didn't get enough following. Come on, you know how much they spent per episode on Game of Thrones?
Oh my god.
HBO
They have like an
got
unlimited
plenty.
budget. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm going to admit something and ask for a crowdsourced opinion amongst any viewers and friends here on the chat. I have not seen Game of Thrones, Sopranos.
Same.
Bad.
No.
Ooh,
What
Breaking Bad's good.
You haven't
I
seen Breaking
just started
Bad?
Sopranos. I just started Sopranos and I'm really enjoying it.
Really? Do you need a bud? Like, what episode are you on? That's what I was leaning towards, personally, anyway.
Sopranos is good. I like it. And just because it's like dated, I'm watching that and The Wire, like one season.
Oh
one
my God.
season. And
Yeah.
And I haven't seen either of them. But Gandolfini, man, it's good. But Breaking Bad is fucking real good.
Okay. I think I might do Sopranos, though. I think that's the vibe.
All right, JP's in here.
Is he alive? It's like, what's happening with JP?
Or is he
Are we
frozen
actually
now?
alive?
Is he good?
Yeah, we've been live since 4 o'clock.
You guys are really delivering high quality content.
What a mess.
Oh, we're good. We're good. I think we're all here. All right, Andrew,
guys
kick
hear
us
that?
off.
Oh shit! Wow, this is an official kickoff. Okay.
Yeah, we're doing it. 30 minutes later.
Uh,
Wow, welcome back to Brandbeats. My name is Andrew. I don't know how this goes though.
My name's Erwin.
My name's Eric.
Who's it gonna be?
I think JP's holding out.
All right. Hi guys,
Just
I'm Matt.
audio, bro.
and I'm JP.
What's our topic today, Eric?
Yeah, so the topic, I guess just to like give it a little preface, is survivalism. So I was thinking about this idea of like survivalist fashion. We got like face masks, we got like this whole like tactical gear thing, which has been a trend for a while, but now because of COVID, obviously like these things are becoming more and more essential, like face masks. And a lot of these like streetwear brands like Supreme and Bape and Off-White, they've had these like lines of like face masks that they sell, but not like, like crazy. But now on StockX, which is like this streetwear reselling site, like the prices are just like have been gouged, I guess is the word. Like to the max, where it's like they used to be like $60 retail and now they're like $200 for a face mask. Or like Supreme had this COVID relief t-shirt. 100% of the proceeds were going to COVID relief, and it was like $60 retail and like $1,000 resale, and it just like dropped this morning. So a lot of things that we kind of took for granted before the quarantine are now like just being sold through the roof by resellers. So it's like this whole concept of like necessity, scarcity, supply and demand that I kind of want to get your guys' take on. So yeah, whoever wants to jump in with an opinion about that, go for it.
I feel like what's fucked about that, like this is like super typical, right? With it's typical that like anytime anybody can make a buck or sees an opportunity to make a buck, which is like super common with anything that like Supreme puts out, for that matter, right? Like the natural culture run is like it gets bought up and then it becomes a resell market. I think what's weird and fucked about it is like when the nature of that product is supposed to be something that's like an altruistic, then the societally, like us taking something and go, it would almost be like if we hijacked, remember the ice bucket challenge? If somebody like hijacked that somehow and made money off of it, like they sort of switched the whole premise of it, and it takes away from what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah, like cheap.
And I think that's that dirty part. Yeah, like that's just it just makes it that much dirtier, even though it's a really natural thing that happens almost with every other product.
My question is like, is it unethical or is it just like smart business, right? Because this isn't like super related, but when Kobe Bryant passed away, his jerseys, even like the fake ones, were selling for like hundreds of dollars, the day he died. So I don't know, like it's kind of just like this weird situation, right? Where like some tragedy or something like very current happens, and then resellers find an opportunity in the market and like seize it,
I mean, that's sort of like in a different way. That's kind of like what consumerism is anyway. Like we take advantage of emotions and moments, and you could argue that. I mean, I don't want to shoot down our entire industry because we're all here, we all need things, right? But there is a sense in which you could say that, we create the fire and the need. It's not really there. We create the culture of scarcity, and we create those ideas like to create more consumerism, and I think it's just like putting even a sharper angle on it now, thinking about how dire this is and how, I mean, it's pretty, I don't think it's unethical, because I think it's like I said, it's like what we've been doing. I think it's just, it's kind of par for the course, but again, it's just coming into like a little bit of a clearer focus with this. And I think it's making people rethink their relationship to things a little bit as well, like at a higher level, and what they really need and like what's actually essential, and what they want and why they want it.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think I'm with you in that it's not unethical. I think it's more so just like a lack of awareness for the situation. In that, like, the way you present yourself, the way you present your ideas and what you're trying to do, it becomes hypercritical. And I think that like it's very easy for it to come off as self-serving, and I think that's like where the fine line gets crossed, in my opinion. Because I mean, I think it's definitely a gray area that I mean, none of us have ever seen something like this. So like when it comes to health and safety, like I think there is a humanistic like responsibility to help our very existence. Like it's the only time I think we've ever had, or like not, I think it's the only time we've ever had that, to where like we do have to like we have to fulfill a responsibility to save the whole. But I think there's nothing wrong with with being able to help and being able to be paid for like helping if you're doing it in the right way. And I think an interesting way to look at it, I also don't have grid view, so I have no idea what you guys are doing. So you guys could be thinking I'm sounding completely stupid, and I have no idea. But I think an interesting way to think about it too is that like there's a lot of these small businesses that have been pivoting to mass or pivoting to you know, screen printers are doing signs or figuring out every little thing that they can do to A, help, but B, also like save their own business. And there's a very interesting perspective with that too, because I mean, while it might come off as self-serving, trying to make a buck off of selling this mask, be healthy and to save more people than ourselves, there's also this need to keep making goods if you're a small business that the demand where the demand is going, where the demand is. And I that might be an interesting place to take the conversation too, is like what some of these brands are doing in order to do that.
Yeah.
Or we don't have to.
Well, I
thought Owen was going to jump in. I was just like looking at his face. He seemed very like in the thought.
I'm still thinking.
Okay, cool.
I was thinking, while you're thinking about that, I was thinking about just this idea of like fear as something that, again, like sometimes like traditionally marketing can use as a tactic to sell more things, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And I guess in this idea of scarcity that you brought up earlier, Eric, I'm just kind of taking it in a slightly different direction while Erwin ponders his answer to JP's posit. I'm just thinking about, how do you guys feel like fear, if at all, has been like a central part of sort of like driving scarcity in all of this? Like, where does that start and end? Like, what are the role of brands, people, like influencers? I think to me, that's super interesting. It's just like, we're all like part of this collective conversation now, right? Where brands, people, celebrities are all like thrown into the social media landscape and all talking about things. And it becomes what you hear again and again through different sources. And so I'm just curious about what you guys think about that as another. Erwin, you can choose what you respond to. It's on you now. You have different directions. You're at a fork in the road.
Well, no, because I think going back to JP's point, or what he was like trying to get out there, I actually completely agree. I have a split perspective because, one, I know small businesses who are doing it to stay alive. On the other side, I know there's big businesses that are getting into that space and they're making these masks and they're profiting off these masks, and maybe some of them are donating back, which is great. But I have there's like a weird tension in my head, because for me, I saw this as like this, even though it's not a great time, there's this like golden opportunity for a lot of small businesses to really cement their place in people's hearts and minds, because those are the people that are the closest to you and they're making things for you in the moment right now. I know people who are making masks and donating them to thousands of masks a week and donating to hospitals and to the community, and only asking for donations. They're not selling them. And then when these big brands come in and they start selling masks, I don't have like a solidified answer. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I find myself feeling like that a lot right now, because we are in this massive crisis where I think a lot of the people who were following on social media and a lot of like media in general is here to spark fear, taking it to like what Emma was talking about. Like they're sparking a lot of fear, and then that fear is driving people to purchase these things that they don't necessarily, I don't know. I don't have a solid point. I think I'm like this time, as far as a consumer and then as a person who works in like advertising or marketing and brand and all that stuff, being on both sides, I know that we as marketers have always done this. We've always played on the current cultural zeitgeist or situation, whether it's like sad and dark or happy and joyful, to help sell more product. And people are doing that right now. So I was like bashing them before we started this live. I was saying big brands are doing all this stuff and it's bullshit, fuck them. But at the same time, that's just the reality of what's been going on. And then even with the resellers, the whole thing about that is all they're doing is taking what we've always done and they're just doing it. Like they're selling Kobe Bryant stuff as soon as he dies, because honestly, that's when you're going to make money. That's when you can pull on people's heartstrings.
Right.
With
It's funny.
selling that stuff, that's when you're pulling on people's heartstrings. Like you were in line and you got this early drop on something that was like a once in a lifetime thing. Like if you look at the Supreme drop as that, like this is the only Supreme drop ever that will be that means this much to society and culture. Therefore, that Supreme drop becomes the probably the highest desired Supreme drop, because it's really once in a lifetime, right? And so they're just playing off of the current cultural zeitgeist to make profit. It's shitty.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think the shitty part is like the profit is coming right now. Like you can still do that and be like, I want to be a person that acquires that, and not necessarily decide I need to flip that today. Do you know what I mean? Like the profit, like the profiteer that occurs during a time when people are going through so much pain, financially and fiscally. I think like it's the timing of everything. I agree with you. You're right. Like this is like it's a super meaningful thing. And like to want to be a part of that, not only wanting to be a part of it, like you're actually doing what the company is setting out to do. You're helping them donate that proceed. It's the fact that you turn and flip it immediately and go, it cheapens sort of your participation in that. That like I wasn't a part of that meaningful moment. I was in it for the $800 profit I made on the back end, you know.
So I think going back to what JP was saying, if we consider that we don't know these resellers, right? And I'm not standing up for one side or the other. That's why I was trying to be that's why I was so silent, because I don't know. But if you consider the current situation, maybe who these resellers are, maybe they are people who lost their job, who don't necessarily have another way to make money. And the government has actually been garnishing, or like debt collectors are garnishing the money that they're sending out. So even though it was $1,200, you could only get $500. That's not going to last you. That's not going to keep you. And so maybe some of these people who are reselling shirts for $1,000, they need that $1,000, and the people who are buying it have the $1,000.
Yeah.
So on both sides, it's like, yeah, it's shitty, but the same way these brands are doing, same way the brands are making masks to sell business, it's like this person might be reselling this shirt for $1,000 because they need. Well,
that's the business. That's also their business, right? Like everybody else, us included, are still carrying on business as usual, right? Like we're still in business. We're not shutting down. Like if that's your job, you're a reseller, like what? And you see an opportunity, like I can't. At the same time, it's like I can't fault you for being. I'm just doing my job because I'm going to work every day. You know what I mean? Like I'm not stopping and being like, let me sacrifice how I make my living.
Whoa. What about the hand sanitizer guy, though? I'm going to take it all the way to that level. I don't know if we talked.
He was bullshit.
He's diabolical, man. I mean,
I think if you were like,
he's like, that's ridiculous.
I think what it comes down to is
any bad business practice, it is like, where do you draw the line? Like to a certain extent, it's okay because you're just running a business. But at a certain point when you're like, I don't know, I'm happy the government went in and took his shit. Because at a certain point, when you're hoarding and people need it, then that's fucked up. I think the difference is like no one needs the Supreme shirt. At all. You're willingly giving $1,000 to the reseller because I have $1,000 to like spend on a shirt.
And I think that's kind of also where I was getting, like with the small businesses who are doing what they need to do to stay afloat, like they're pivoting and doing it. I will say that like, and I would be willing to bet that the majority of those who are doing it just to make ends meet and like make sure that they are staying around after this is done are doing the right thing when it's time. Like there's a lot of them that are like, hey, we're making masks, but if you don't have them and you can't afford them, like we'll give them to you. And things like that, or small like fitness studios that are like, you don't have to pay us, but if you want to pay us, like we'll give you, like during this, we'll give you all of these things that we can after, or X, Y, and Z. And I think there's a lot of like good that is still being done with people who are just trying to survive. And I think that's completely like respectable.
I think what it comes down to is like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Emma.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna add. You go first.
I was just gonna say, like, I think it just comes down to intention, and I think Emma's idea of like fear is like spot on because there's like two ways to look at it, right? So it's like on one hand, there are companies that are like assuaging fears, right? They're like helping to curb these fears and like, whether that's like donating masks for free or, just like being very benevolent about it. On the other side, you have people that are like stoking these fears. For example, like the hand sanitizer guy. It's like, this guy, he's not going to use like all that fucking hand sanitizer, and he doesn't expect people to use, he bought like, how much hand sanitizer did he buy? It was just like a shit ton, right? But
that's imagining him just bathing in hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
He's just like,
exactly.
okay.
It's like, you don't need all that shit, but.
Could you imagine doing that and you're getting in the wind? It'd be real cold.
Have you seen that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Dude, yes, that's what I thought about. I mean, that's the new flex.
It's Frank. It's just Frank crawling around in his underwear.
And clean as hell, fully shaved.
Yeah, I guess just like to bring it back though, like it is like about your attention, right? Like, are you doing it for the good of humanity, for the good of like society, or are you just like trying to make a quick buck, without trying to give back? I don't know, like, and again, I'm not like virtue signaling. I'm not like picking one side or the other, but it is like this interesting line, right?
And I think that's what I was saying. Like, to me, this was like a golden. Oh no, you had something. I'll pause.
Well, I was gonna take it. I just had like another thing I wanted to go on. If you want to like close the loop, then I'll wait because I have like.
I was like, to me, that was what I was saying about this was like a golden time for small businesses because they are people. At least there's a high amount of small businesses that truly care about their community because they feed off of their community. Like their community is what sustains them and helps them, so they give back. And we even talked about this on the last Brandbeats, where this is a time for you to like sow and like give back and support and be a true platform for the people who have like purchased from you and have been there for you. So that way on the other end, you actually come out as one of those brands who people like care about. And so you see that distinction even right now. Like we talked a lot about even the idea of hype dying down during and post-COVID. But you see with the Jordan release, they released it right before the documentary, and it sold out before the intro credits were over. Mm-hmm. And so even that conversation is hype dead. I think what that clarifies and shows that brands who have truly built up a relationship with their customer and have been a platform for their customer, the hype is still going to be there. And their brands are still going to be there. Mm-hmm. But brands who have just taken it and done frivolous things and not necessarily are truly giving back and don't necessarily have a clear point of view on who they are and what they stand for, as well as aren't acting as a platform for their customer base, those are the brands that the hype is going to die. They're going to possibly die. And they're going to,
yeah.
Now, that was the end of my thought.
It's a good segue into what I want to talk about, which it was about like you talked about community a lot and like relationships, and I think something that I've noticed as like an organic observation is that in the wake of all of this, and despite all the things that we were just saying about some of the malevolence potentially, and people taking advantage, like there's this heightened sense of sharing that I've noticed, and not sharing like social media, sharing like yes, that too, which has always been there, but like a sense of like communities, even small communities, like walking around my neighborhood, there's like little fun things. Like I've been taking a bunch of photos I'll eventually post, but like people have like, hey, here's a tin full of magazines I haven't read anymore. Or, hey, here's my little take a succulent, leave a succulent. Or like just things where I think people are trying to share physically as a way to support one another, because I think what all this is exposed economically and individually is obvious, but is how interconnected we all are. So there's like the sad part of that, which is the ripple effect that we're all feeling, either acutely or distantly. And then there's also the positive impact of that. Like we have the power to shift that and say, hey, we all are connected. So as things progress and as the future of like potentially our economic fabric changes forever, like how do we actually support one another on an individual level? And that's also brands, right? But like, how do we actually come together and create a sense of like of sharedness, sharing. I was doing so well. At the end, I just botched the last word.
Real quick. So just a comment from one of the YouTubers. It's from Luke Clark. He says, I see it as small businesses need to survive. And if they can provide a good that is A, relevant, that sells, and B, also provide a solution to the problem, then it's hard to judge their motives.
Yeah.
And Anshul Kidile says, people are trying to be more human, and the glam of IG is probably coming off just a little bit.
For sure. Like, I think nobody cares about that anymore. Like, nobody's like, everyone was living in their phones before, and I'm using hyperbole to say this to make it sound more impactful, but like, I feel like just people's photos, like pictures of you living your best life, like that highlight reel, everyone's like, hey, no one has one right now because we're all sitting in our 4x4 little boxes, right? There's like a limit to that. But also, like, you just have different of priorities, right? It's losing it for sure.
And I think to that point, like, as far as priorities, people are now prioritizing, to your point, Emma, like sharing, right? And I almost see it as like, I don't want to say like communist, but it's almost like this like bartering economy now where people are like trading shit. So it's like, I'll give you a face mask for X or whatever, you know, it's like, is that going to be something that's going to be sustainable after COVID? Like just this whole like idea of like bartering and like trading goods.
Is that happening?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you guys
doing,
have witnessed
like,
that.
a meal for a beer.
Yeah.
People are doing a lot of that stuff currently, where it's like
Wow.
you're just trading something that I need for something that you need.
I think it is going to continue on. I mean, even thinking about this isn't exactly bartering, but I think it's more about like, what I have, what do you want? What can we work out? Like, even like Depop, which is maybe a departure from, again, literally bartering without any financial gain, but like these ideas of like Depop and like people selling things like to one another without like a retail front or a store. It's like, hey, Erwin, you need this, I have this. Like, it's a lot more one-to-one, which I think is also indicative of like where people maybe are going, you know?
It's almost also
I agree
too,
with that.
I was gonna say, even like going like hyper simplified with it, like there's even this more like there's more active, or I guess I don't know what the hell the word I'm trying. There's people are sharing ideas in the same way. Like there's a bartering of ideas and knowledge as well. So it's like it's interesting. Like we're all looking for everyone's like recommendations. We're all looking for everyone's like just little pieces to get us by. And now it's like, yo, what are you watching on Netflix? What are you doing here? What are you listening to? And it's like heightened now. So it's like even like to your going back to like your sharing of these little simple things of like how we're interacting with one another. It's like there's also, while we might not be sharing our like over glamified lives of us doing like on an island somewhere, now it's like we're coming together and we're just like asking one another, we're communicating more simply. It's less showing and more just like telling and like kind of sharing. And I think that's really interesting too. So like it's like brands are doing it with physical goods, people are selling it like that, but then there's also like a lot more sharing of ideas, I feel like.
That's so true. I feel like there's like a whole exchange right now that's like the nature of your conversation. Can you guys hear this airplane coming down right now? Is it loud?
A little bit.
Okay, good. Shit. No, but like there is like an exchange of like your conversation is more, it's the substance is completely different about our conversation. Like you almost exchanging meaning in an interesting way. Like even the nature of like Emma and I will have like we usually have like pretty interesting conversations, but we'll be about some random frivolous shit. But like recently we've been like exchanging like, oh, I've been reading this book and it's like interesting in this way, or I'm listening to the podcast. Not that we don't have those, but it's like it almost dominates the exchanges that I have with people because I'm like, how are you getting through it? And they're like, here's how I'm getting.
It's more
through
meaningful
it.
now.
Yeah, and it's just a different way because it's all we're all thirsty for. We have this like whole. This is the interesting thing to me is like our value systems have changed because much of the frivolous has been stripped away from us. The stuff that we like normally would be like, oh, this thing's going on, or I'm going to this place with these people, and that's the nature of your conversation. And right now, you're like everything in your life is about like, how do I find meaning in the mundane, like every day. And those are the things that we want to exchange and talk about with one another because we're like looking for the next thing that I can find in like some joy in a really subtle endeavor.
Yeah. And I guess to tie it to that, another comment we got from Angela was, it seems like human connection is the only thing we really wanted all this while. And to me, that kind of ties it back to like our past episode, which is like, we're like all siloed and separate, but we're still coming together in like a beautiful way, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that just goes to like sharing and this idea of like connectivity and community and etc.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think not to take it to a completely different space, along the same lines, one thing to build on top of this idea that we are basically, we are acting as if we're smaller communities now. The idea of sharing, the idea of like truly connecting with individuals, we're functioning as if we have small, intimate tribes that we belong to. With that, and with everybody being sort of siloed and separated into their own homes, and mainly using digital platforms to connect. And this is more raising a question. Do we feel like that's going to take us back a step from the social progress that we started to have, because now people are in their own silos again, only hearing the things that they want to hear and only hearing the things that they tune into necessarily? Like, is this increasing the divide between, and I'm just using this as an example, the right wing and the left wing?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, because there's no longer the need to interact. Like, no one, if you're not going to work, you're not necessarily interacting with people who have different views or different perspectives. So yes, we're more connected and we're like having deeper conversations. Like if you and Emma are having these deeper conversations, but both of you have similar points of view. So you're reaching out to people who have similar points of view as opposed to interacting with people who don't have similar points of view at all.
Yeah.
And so now it's like we are increasingly siloing ourselves while we're expanding and enriching those connections. That's why I was saying the idea of tribe, right? Like to me, the idea of tribes are coming back stronger, mainly because the people we're connecting with are connecting with deeper, but we're no longer even having to interact with the people who don't agree with us.
Right. And
I feel, oh, go ahead, Emma.
No, go ahead.
No, I just feel you're right. Like the first part, like I do think the scale of our tribe or our community is like far more pronounced in its closeness. Like the relationships that are like that, like they are smaller because you start to like realize like, oh, those people that you do have like a little bit more of a connection with relative to the scale of the people you're connected to. Like you're like, oh, there's certain people you're gravitating towards, and then you have this exchange in a more meaningful way, and that's much smaller, and so your tribe's going down. But the second point you're making, it's like there is for sure a massive distraction in terms of the social conversation. Like this hijacked everything, and so all of the conversations that we were having about, you know, Me Too, trans rights, whatever it is, are all but evaporated in the wake of something that just said stop everything. This is the only thing you can think about. And so go ahead.
No, I was like, and I think while it was good and like when this first started happening, I was like, this is hopeful. Like we're all in this together. Mm-hmm. Over the past couple of weeks, you've started to see protests. You've seen a lot more hate still coming out.
It's true.
Which is to say, and this is going back to the idea of fear. And so, which is to say, is this helping to increase their time, or like the time for people to just like ruminate in their own sort of hate and hatred for other people, because now they don't have to interact, and now it's not in the media. You're not seeing it. You're not afraid of like being called out on Me Too because it's not there anymore. All I'm afraid of is COVID, and that's it.
It's true. Like we have a common enemy. We have a different way of like combating it, right? And we only talk to people who are kind of on our own team. And I think like before of this, all of this happened, like there were already echo chambers, to your point, Erwin, right? And it's like, you know, you can choose to drop into any of them on Reddit or on YouTube, wherever you are. Like you can follow whoever you want and be part of that conversation and have a tribe, right? For better or worse, of like-minded people that share values and thoughts. The antidote to that was real life in a lot of ways. You could, whether it was just visually walking down the street, right, in a major city, or being on public transportation and being faced with other humans that either just like, you know, don't share your opinion or might change the way you think about something, even just at a glance. That doesn't happen. And then you miss out that water cooler conversations, right, that are happening in the offices, with friends, at bars, where you may just have the element of spontaneity that can help challenge your opinions, right, which helps round out your kind of worldview in a way. So we're not having that right now, unless you're really active and intent upon seeking it out. It's pretty hard with algorithms and all the other crap and preference, right? And bullshit tolerance. Like, how much do you want to open yourself up to like disagreement right now? And you're just trying to like figure out a way to survive. And you're like, I can't even think about what I'm making for dinner, let alone like trying to empathize with the other side of an argument that I may disagree with. But it's interesting.
And especially in a time of like tension and unsurety, you don't necessarily want your other you don't want the other foundations that make up your bedrock to be shaken.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, oh shit, am I racist?
Yeah, like
you're broke. You're not able to go to work. You don't have a job. And you're like, oh shit, am I a fucking racist?
Yeah.
Like those aren't things that you would even want to come to terms with. Like I feel like those things can only happen in times of prosperity when we are a little bit more comfortable, when everything else is like working itself out. And then you now have time to sit and be introspective and really think about who you are and how you're contributing. And so, yeah, it was just more like an open conversation and observation, because I've just been seeing a lot of like fear mongering and hate from both sides. And I see less conversation happening. And like you're saying, those water cooler conversations and those kind of spontaneous interactions that you have as a human when you're walking around, and when you're in New York and you're on a subway and you're a businessman, but then you see someone who's homeless. That's a moment to pick your heart and turn your emotion. Now you don't see it. If you're a businessman and you are living well, you're just now chilling in your apartment, living well.
Exactly. You don't even get those small moments of just seeing others and having empathy through that, or having a moment of like self-reflection or pause. It's really
and does this not decrease empathy, but if I'm so worried about my business and how my business is functioning, do I even have time to care about the homeless person?
Well, of course, you're not exposed to anything. I think it absolutely does create, when you're not connecting to people, your natural like tendency as a human being is going to be like to self-center. Everything in your world becomes about yourself. And I don't care what we say, like as much as we can connect over Zoom or whatever, like it pales in comparison to exposure in a real way. In terms of the empathy that it creates and connecting with somebody.
And I think the like raw expression of that was at the beginning of this, when we saw people fighting like an old woman for toilet paper. Like that was a moment where like this person had mad toilet paper in their like shopping cart, and then the old woman like just wanted one, and then the woman was a fighter, and it was like because she was so worried about herself and that's it, and didn't care about like the larger community.
Yeah,
I don't know. That to me is like this interesting, like there's this duality where yes, we've seen more people caring about and donating and giving back to the community that's immediately surrounding them, right? And mainly that's like, it affects me what the person next door to me thinks and feels. But as soon as you go a block over, is there that same level? And block over being like you go to another community, et cetera. I'm using that as a small example. As soon as you go a block over, is that same level of care there? Or now is this a completely different group? Is it like Bloods and Crips? Again, weird example, but it's like you have two completely different groups, differing points of views, and they fight. And they do not share ideas. Is that's my only worry about like after this, if like we take a step back on all of the progress we've made as far as like true social like progress and connection.
Well, that's
there will be a siloing, right, in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean, bringing it back full circle to what you said in the beginning, like I'm gonna try to connect the two, because I think we're talking about like people taking advantage of individuals, right? Like that's how we kind of started this conversation about like hand sanitizer, devil guy, or just people that are like reselling things or whatever. Devil guy, the sanitizer Satan. No, just kidding. But
and Satanizer.
Gotta do.
I'm copyrighted, baby. Let's go.
I'm dead. No, but I just think like there's also opportunities to take advantage of people's vulnerability in this time, rather than just like, you know, what they want, what they don't want, and like scarcity and things like that. It's like scarcity is like a much more like, not to get like this, but like almost like there's a spiritual or philosophical element to the idea of scarcity, right? And so when somebody's fighting an old lady for toilet paper, like someone is out there, someone could take advantage, a person, a political entity, a power, a brand, of this person's fear of like self versus the greater good. And there's this whole concept of like social cohesion that's super interesting if you look into just around like how people actually interact with each other in times of trouble. And the tendency, you know, it starts at the top, and again, avoiding politicization of this conversation, but it starts at the top, but essentially like people want to be community minded and they want to put people's greater good first, but it's hard to do if they don't feel supported at a very basic human level. And when they don't, or they feel like there's no one to support them foundationally, they go back to this like self first.
Yeah. What I think it is like people are going to be shitty regardless of the quarantine, right? Like people were shitty before the quarantine, they're going to be shitty after the quarantine, and like same for the flip side, right? Like
people are shitty.
People, you know, people that are doing amazing things now probably did the same things before the quarantine, you know. But I think to Emma's point, like in times of need, in times of like dire situations, like now, this is when we see those two extremes.
Yeah.
So I guess to close the loop a little bit, just because we're running on time, I think it is like this idea of like fear mongering, right? Like again, going to intention. Like, are you helping people cope, or are you just like stoking in fear mongering? So I guess just to get you guys' takeaways before we close this out, like, how do you guys? I mean, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on like this whole idea of like survivalism at a high level? You know, like, is this gonna affect us post COVID? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, for me, like, I did, just to connect back to some of the stuff that you guys are going on. I do think like when as human beings, like while we're afraid, we definitely get a little lizard brainy, right? Like we are going to go, I have to protect myself and protect, you know, yourself. I think community is something that's, you know, as you're mentioning, Emma, it's like, it's something that can be incredibly good in bonding, but community is incredibly like scalable. So when communities start to get small, then you end up with conflict. I mean, like I think the positive hope I have for it though, is like post fear. If you look at like the concept of like the near miss that Malcolm Gladwell talks about, it's when we survive these things together, like afterwards, we feel more connected because we survived together. And so at the end of the day, I think on the back end of this, there is potential for us to feel more bonded, because we will look back on this and go, hey, as a nation, it's actually fairly impressive to get 300 million people to comply as well as we did, despite the small uproars that we had. Like, wow, I have a bit of hope for us as a collective of people, that we were able to like not go outside and stay away from one another for the benefit of 1% of people or 10% of people who are severely affected by this. Because if we're all really lizard brain, we could be like, fuck it, I want to be as free as I want, and you know, Darwinism, they're gonna go away. Like there are people who are saying those things, yeah. But I would say the vast majority of people aren't saying that, and do care about the small minority of people who will be affected in a heavy way with this. So I think like there's potential. I don't know that it will be the truth in my eyes, but there's potential for good and bonding and closeness to come on the other side of this.
I think the interesting thing too, that in that conversation and in the one we had a little bit before, is that it just made me think of Lord of the Flies, and that like morality is all relative. So it's like, to the point that everyone was making, like, I'm worrying about what I'm worrying about now, and my morality is almost determined by my current situation. And so I think like we're going to see that influx of that. And I think to bring my answer to Eric's point while we're wrapping it up, is like, I think all the small businesses and other large businesses are feeling that as well. And they're making decisions based on their current situations. But I think that in the end, the true colors will show through, and I think people will see who's being genuine and who's helping and who's doing their part, and people will also see through those companies that are trying to cash in and do just trying to cash in on a shitty situation. And so I think that if anything, when we are out of this, that there will be a little bit more, while the areas are very, very gray right now, I think it'll be a little bit more black and white on the other side in terms of like where companies stand and like what they stand for.
My response isn't as long. I agree. Like I think it'll be very clear. Like this will be a time when like those organizations that aren't necessarily about that life, and when I say about that life, they're not necessarily true and rooted in something real, they're going to be weeded out. Whether it's like right away or it's like over time. I just think that this is that's the reality. Like people are going to want to invest and spend time with the brands that spent time with them. Again, we always had that idea of be more human and trying to make brands more human, not as like a scary thing, but as this, what is a good friend? A good friend is someone who knows you, someone who listens, someone who sits with you, someone who's there for you, even if you're not necessarily always good to them. To me, that's what a brand should be doing. A brand should be doing all of those things. They should know you. They should be there for you. They should support you. That way, when you need it, you support, or they support you as the brand or whatever. So the brands that have done that and are going to continue to do that are the brands that deserve to be in this world. Brands that aren't doing that don't really deserve a space in our hearts and our minds as customers. And I think that that's what this is going to help bring to light, or I hope that's what it helps bring to light. And on the other side, I do hope, to what Andrew was saying, I hope that that is the truth and the reality. I hope that we're not more siloed and we don't now we don't go through this major tension point and then begin to just look at the other side as the people who were on the wrong side of history. Because if that happens, then I feel like we're in a slightly worse place than we were before we went into it.
Survival of the realist, not the fittest.
Oh,
That's it.
Drop? No.
Super emphatic.
Mike slowly put down.
Mike placed down.
Mike placed me.
That was a good mic drop quote.
Thanks. Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Put that on a poster.
Do what I can.
I will say it was less
You put like
impactful for me because
what?
it was less impactful for me because I don't have the grid view. So you said that, and then the camera just stayed on you, and nothing was being said. You were just like slowly looking at the camera. So it wasn't a cool mic drop. It was just very awkward.
Like that's more impactful.
Oh.
All right, y'all. Well, I guess that's it. Unless anyone else has any other last thoughts.
Be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Wash your fucking hands. Stay home.
Wow.
Don't go outside.
Let's be nice.
Please, please.
Please.
Oh, yeah. My last word would be share love and try and like still stay open to the other side. Whether you're on the left, you're on the right, whether you're somebody who didn't agree with me, to use this time to dig into some of the things that you didn't necessarily agree with and maybe see through lines of how you are actually connected. I think to what Emma said, I feel like that's probably the most powerful thing. Like if we can truly utilize this as an opportunity to see how we're connected and utilize the spread of the virus and abstract that to see like, oh, we're actually way more connected. Me going to this one place, I actually came in contact with this individual who doesn't have the same point of view, whatever. We're connected. We're more connected than we thought. Yeah. Love each other.
I like that. That's
Should I do another mic drop? What else?
really,
can I say?
those are pronounced. Those are very. I like those tips. Mine is never smoke at a gas station. Okay.
I guess for a more serious one, because everyone's getting like really deep. Mine was kind of a joke.
So deep.
No, we can't go back.
We gotta go. I gotta backtrack a little bit. I don't want to. My reputation's at stake. So yeah, just keep on keeping
More
on.
reputation.
Keep your head up, guys.
How about you can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind if you don't dance.
Lean on me,
Dance.
withers. You know,
Let's just say lyrics.
Damn, rest in peace.
rip.
Feel right. Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Let's stay together.
I don't want to fight.
Coronavirus.
All right, this has gone off the rails. I think it's time.
I feel like it's not the end of a Brandbeats till it goes off the rails.
Time
That's
after
true.
time.
That's how you know it's over.
Oh, still going.
All right, YouTube, Spotify, Apple
Don't
Music.
shoot
Bye, everyone.
that. All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Later, y'all.
Bye.